Ahithophel was a very smart man. He was a counselor to King David, and his advice was so good it was viewed as accurate as if a prophet of God had foretold the future. However, despite his intelligence, he calculated so badly that at the end, the only viable solution for himself was to commit suicide. What went wrong? Let's begin by reading about his life in 2 Samuel's. First, some background. Absalom was one of King David's many sons. He was described as a very handsome man, and he had a desire to be next in line to be king after David. However, due to the rape of his sister, he killed his brother Amnon in retribution. David spared his life, however, he was ostracized by David. His relations with his father did improve, however, it was obvious to Absalom that David would never appoint him as king over Israel. So Absalom took matters into his own hands. He prepared a coup and ousted his father. Let's pick up the story in the Bible. Then a messenger came to David, saying, "The hearts of the men of Israel are with Absalom." And David said to all his servants who were with him in Jerusalem, "Arise and let us flee, for otherwise none of us shall escape from Absalom. Go in haste, lest he overtake us quickly, and bring down calamity on us, and strike the city with the edge of the sword." Then the king's servants said to the king, "Behold, your servants are ready to do whatever my lord the king chooses." So the king went out, and all his household with him. But the king left concubines to keep the house. And the king went out, and all the people with him, and they stopped at the last house. Now all his servants passed on beside him, all the Cherethites, all the Pelethites, and all the Gittites. 600 men who had come with him from Gath passed on before the king. Now someone told David, saying, "Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom." And David said, "O Lord, I pray, make the counsel of Ahithophel foolishness." It happened as David was coming to the summit where God was worshipped, that behold, Hushai the Archite met him with his coat torn and dust on his head. And David said to him, "If you pass over with me, then you will be a burden to me. But if you return to the city and say to Absalom, 'I will be your servant, O king, as I have been your father's servant in time past, so I will now be your servant,' then you can thwart the counsel of Ahithophel for me. And are not Zadok and Abiathar the priests with you there? So it shall be that whenever you hear from the king's house, you shall report to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Behold, their 2 sons are with them there, and Ahimaaz Zadok's son, and Jonathan Abiathar's son, and by them you shall send me everything that you hear." So Hushai, David's friend, came into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem. Then Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, entered Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with him. Now it came about when Hushai the Archite, David's friend, came to Absalom, that Hushai said to Absalom, "Long live the king, long live the king." And Absalom said to Hushai, "Is this your loyalty to your friend? Why did you not go with your friend?" Then Hushai said to Absalom, "No, for whom the Lord this people and all the men of Israel have chosen, his will I be, and with him I will remain. And besides, who should I serve? Should I not serve in the presence of his son? As I have served in your father's presence, so I will be in your presence." Furthermore, Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Please let me choose 12,000 men, that I may arise and pursue David tonight. And I will come upon him while he is weary and exhausted, and will terrify him so that all the people who are with him will flee. Then I will strike down the king alone, and I will bring back all the people to you. The return of everyone depends on the man you seek. Then all the people shall be at peace." So the plan pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel. Then Absalom said, "Now call Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear what he has to say." When Hushai had come to Absalom, Absalom said to him, "Ahithophel has spoken thus. Shall we carry out his plan? If not, you speak." So Hushai said to Absalom, "This time the advice Ahithophel has given is not good." Moreover, Hushai said, "You know your father and his men, that they are mighty men, and they are fierce, like a bear robbed of her cubs in the field. And your father is an expert in warfare, and will not spend the night with the people. Behold, he has now hidden himself in one of the caves, or in another place, and will be when he falls on them at the first attack, that whoever hears it will say, there has been a slaughter among the people who follow Absalom. And even the one who is valiant, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will completely lose heart. For all Israel knows that your father is a mighty man, and those who are with him are valiant men. But I counsel that all Israel be surely gathered to you, from Dan even to Beersheba, as the sand that is by the sea in abundance, and that you personally go into battle. So we shall come to him in one of the places where he can be found, and we will fall on him, as the dew falls on the ground, and of him and all the men who are with him, not even one will be left. And if he withdraws into a city, then all Israel shall bring ropes to that city, and we will drag it into the valley till not even a small stone is found there. Then Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. For the Lord had ordained to thwart the good counsel of Ahithophel, in order that the Lord might bring calamity on Absalom. Now when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his donkey and arose, and went to his home, to his city, and set his house in order, and strangled himself. Thus he died and was buried in the grave of his father. Why did Ahithophel kill himself? This is probably what he saw. First, Absalom did not respect his advice. He would be of demoted status if Absalom did succeed, and if he succeeded, Hushai would get credit, not him. Absalom was not going to succeed. Hushai's advice had already been tried by the previous king, Saul. David was able to elude him in the wilderness with the help of God, and this time David had far more support of the people as the former king. The longer David lived, the better the chances that David would regain his throne. And finally, once Absalom was defeated, David was going to execute Ahithophel. Better to die on your own terms than to be waiting for execution. So how did Ahithophel miscalculate so badly in the first place? In other words, why did he support Absalom? The Bible doesn't say, but here are my thoughts. First, I suspect that David stopped listening to Ahithophel. Absalom's coup was not a secret, but David refused to believe it and put a stop to it. Second, since David was not listening to Ahithophel, he felt it was best to be one of the first supporters of Absalom and assure a top position in the next administration. It was a gamble. Ahithophel was so confident in his abilities to predict the future that he took the risk. In fact, his calculation was correct, except for one thing. He did not foresee that David would call on the Lord, and the Lord would intervene on David's behalf. What can we learn from Ahithophel's life? Let's begin with a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. Morality is just a fiction used by the herd of inferior human beings to hold back the few superior men. He argued that smart people don't need to follow morality. They can use their brains to avoid calamity and have success. He also died of syphilis, and at the end he was insane, living in an asylum. The danger for the highly intelligent is to trust themselves. They are used to being right. It results in a puffed-up pride. The devil is also happy to tell people how smart they are. The more people trust themselves, the less likely they are to follow God in faith. And that is the crux of the issue. Do you follow God's word in faith, or do you trust your intellect to make decisions instead? Let's take chess as an example. An average person sees about 1 to 3 moves ahead in a chess game. Based on that information, they decide on which moves to make. A grandmaster can see 15 to 20 moves ahead. Based on that superior skill, they usually win the game. Yet if God were to play a game of chess, he knows all possible choices in the game. Beyond that, he knows what choices you will make, regardless of what move would actually be the best. The bottom line is you can't beat God in a game of chess. But God's knowledge extends beyond the game of chess. He has also looked at life, both at an individual level and society as a whole. While we may be able to predict the result of our choices in the near term, God understands how the choices we make today will impact the rest of our lives. So we have a choice. We can follow the moral law established by God in the Bible, or we can trust ourselves to make better decisions. And this choice is available to all of mankind, both the geniuses and the idiots. The ironic thing is that an idiot can have more success than a genius if they follow God's word. They will make better life decisions than the genius who trusts himself. I'd also like to mention what a great gift the Bible is. Anyone can purchase the Bible for a low price. In fact, many places will give you one for free. Yet Psalms 119:72 says, "The law of your mouth is better to me than thousands of gold and silver pieces." Imagine a life without the Bible. Some would rejoice that we wouldn't have all those rules mandated by God. yet we also would have no guidance. We would be limited by the reach of our own intellect. We wouldn't even understand why bad things kept happening to us. Having access to the wisdom of a super intellect and an omniscient God is a great gift. It provides a guide to help us navigate the dangers of this life. I would like to end by discussing how we make decisions in the first place. Our decisions are not usually made by cold reason, but by our desires, emotional needs, and by the impact of the life we have lived. Let's look at physical needs. Almost 42% of the U.S. population is obese. All it takes for a person to reduce their body weight is to reduce the number of calories that they consume. However, due to our physical desire for food, many eat more than they should, and as a result are obese. Sexual desire is another area, which we have covered extensively in the prior video, which often results in bad choices with a major negative impact on life. How about pain avoidance? In the simplest of terms, avoiding pain is a good thing. It helps us preserve our bodies to be more efficient. However, at times, making a decision that results in pain is the correct choice. It can be something as simple as exercising or having a difficult conversation with someone that you know will not take it well. One final area of the physical spectrum is puberty. We didn't one day decide by reason that the opposite sex was attractive. Instead, the pituitary gland in us initiated the release of hormones that changed both our bodies and our minds. It added sexual desires as a motivating force in our lives. Beyond physical motivations, there are also emotional motivations. Obesity is often not just the result of hunger running our lives. It can also indicate that we use food to soothe ourselves when we encounter trials. Another is the desire to be loved and to be in an intimate relationship. We can easily make poor choices to satisfy those needs, whether it be premarital sex or joining a gang. And finally, we could probably add pride into this area. Pride prevents us from making the rational choice in many areas of our lives. Saying something as simple as "I am sorry" could solve many relational issues, yet many can't bring themselves to do so due to pride. Another area that impacts our decision-making is life choices. A person that has gone to war often suffers from PTSD when they return, which can haunt them the rest of their lives. They have recurring nightmares, jump at noises, and overreact to many situations in daily life. They don't choose to be that way, they became that way from the way they lived. To take another example, divorce causes a major change in a person's mind. Often they are bitter and cynical about life. If they do remarry, they are much more likely than the general population to get divorced again. I would like to take life choices a step further. I began with the more extreme cases, but I would like to propose that all of our choices shape the person that we become. Have you noticed how people like to say they have no regrets? Most people don't want to admit that they have made a mistake. So they instead rationalize the choices that they have made so that at the end of their life, they can say they have no regrets. Romans 6:23 says that the wages of sin is death. That would mean that a lifetime of sin would take a heavy toll on your mind. Bitterness, cynicism, cruelty, selfishness, anger, pride, laziness, they can be developed over a lifetime of choices. After a while, you aren't even making a choice to be those things. It is just who you are. We began with the decision of trusting God in faith when it comes to making choices in life, or trusting yourself to make decisions instead. Yet if you choose to trust yourself, it isn't really your logical mind that is making decisions. You have your physical and emotional desires and the weight of a lifetime of sin that is driving the choices that you make. You make a choice according to your nature and then rationalize later to tell yourself that it was a logical choice. It doesn't matter how smart you are, your brain isn't driving decisions. The more you look at things, the more foolish trusting yourself becomes. You have the wisdom of the omniscient God of the universe at your fingertips. There truly is only one rational choice to make. Trust God and lean not on your own understanding.